Hello, everyone. I call the Charlottesville City Council meeting back to order. Brian, will you read us out of closed session, please?
Yes, I move that this council certify by a recorded vote that to the best of each council member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act and identified in the motion convening the closed session were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed session.
Thank you. Are we going to?
Second.
Second, did you want to vote electronically? Okay. So just in case some people may be here for the Derry Road Bridge item, it has been removed until December the 1st, just in case someone's here for that. Okay. Okay, so we will begin with a moment of silence. Thank you very much. Are there any announcements? Yes.
Every Saturday morning, the Bike and Pedestrian Advisory Committee hosts a bike ride around town that meets at 10 o'clock at the city market. It's 10 o'clock in the winter, it's 9 o'clock in the summer, so you get a little extra hour of sleep and let it get light a little bit more. This is the ride before Thanksgiving, so it's always good to get in a little bit extra pedals.
Oh, a little guilt, yeah.
We want it to be a really fun, big one to kind of kick off the holidays. So please come join us. We meet at the bike rack at the corner of City Market, kind of diagonal from Darling. So if you have a bike, come out and join. It's a real easy, casual ride. If you need to borrow a bike, check out the e-bike lending library. You can rent a bike for free from them and scoot around town on that. So hopefully we'll see some of you there.
It's an amazing opportunity. I do it every Saturday that I'm available. I thought I knew the city, but, to take it through some bike routes that, particular people that do it a lot, you learn and see different parts of the city. So I encourage anyone that's out there that's available to go. It's really fun.
And if you can't make this Saturday, it's every Saturday. So
Yeah.
join when you can.
And I just have another announcement. Jaunt, the paratransportation provider for the area, they're celebrating their 50-year anniversary, and they presented to us earlier, and they are looking for stories that maybe you or maybe a family member or someone you know may have a story that they want to be able to tell that story of Jaunt impact in the community over the next 50 years. So you can go to their site, and they have a platform there where you can tell your story. So please, we're trying to help them get the word out. So thank you for that. Any other announcements? We have a couple of proclamations. I'm going to have you go first.
Sure thing. All right, Restorative Justice Week, November 16th through the 22nd, 2025. Whereas Restorative Justice Week begins annually on the third Sunday of November, falling in 2025 on the week of November 16th through the 22nd, and whereas Restorative Justice Week aims to recognize the power and effect of justice based on the restoration of human connection in lieu of retributive and punitive proceedings, and whereas restorative justice is an internationally recognized approach for responding to crime and incidents of harm that provides the opportunity for dialogue between those who have experienced harm, the harm perpetrators, and their community to address the harm and meet the needs of those involved. And whereas Central Virginia Community Justice, serving Charlottesville City and Albemarle County, was established in 2022 to provide space for those involved in harm to lead their own accountability and healing through restorative justice. And whereas Central Virginia Community Justice has supported over 200 individuals through the restorative justice process to address situations of harm in our communities and our schools. And whereas Restorative Justice Week serves as an opportunity for residents to reflect on how our community can find growth, healing, and accountability in restorative approaches to conflict and harm. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that Charlottesville City Council does hereby support and observe Restorative Justice Week, November 16th through the 22nd, 2025, to promote safety and well-being for all city residents, workers, and visitors by encouraging the learning and practice of restorative skills of human connection and healing as a means of attaining justice. Signed and dated this day, November 17th, 2025, by Juan Diego Wade, Mayor.
Thank you. Is someone here to... Oh. Yes, please. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Wade and councilors. I'm Ashley Sinelli Matthews, Executive Director of Central Virginia Community Justice. For Restorative Justice Week, I just want to share one quick story. One afternoon, a driver looked down at his phone for a moment to check directions and accidentally struck a man exercising on the side of the road. The criminal case began as usual, investigation, charges, incarceration, and lots of unanswered questions for the man who was hit. Thankfully, the prosecutor was listening to the harmed person, and when she heard him say that what he really wanted was a chance to make the community safer, they reached out to us. So after the case came to CVCJ, we were able to bring together the people involved in this case to make a plan for how something good could come out of this harm. They ended up agreeing the responsible person would make 25 presentations about distracted driving. And so over the next year, he told his story to over 600 people, including 400 driving age youth from our community. And I can tell you it was a very effective presentation because I still think of it when my phone dings when I'm driving around and remember not to look at it. So the harmed person's desire for answers and for a meaningful outcome, while the responsible person was able to take accountability with dignity and actions that actually made a difference in the community. All of this is possible because the people involved were willing to try restorative justice. So we just want the community to know that whether you're an adult or a youth, whether someone's been charged with a crime, or you need help with a situation that maybe happened in the community or in the schools, you can reach out to CVCJ to initiate a process where your needs, your healing, and the whole community's safety are prioritized. So we're celebrating National Restorative Justice Week. We have lots of events coming up this week. If anyone wants to check them out, we're at communityjusticeva.org/events. And just want to say thank you so much. We're so grateful to the city for your support and for our collaboration with the Commonwealth's attorneys' offices in Charlottesville and Albemarle, without which we would not be able to do what we do. So thank you very much for this recognition.
Thank you, Ashley. Appreciate that you all are part of our community and the work that you do. Thank you. We have a proclamation for Miss Teresa Jackson Walker Price. So when I first moved into this community, it's a few giants that you get to meet, that you, particularly if you want to run for office or get involved in the community. And Miss Teresa is one of those. And so this is a proclamation honoring her 100th birthday. So can we give her a round of applause? She looks amazing. Her birthday is actually beginning of December? December the 14th, and there's going to be a family celebration, and I know Lloyd is going to be going to that for council. So thank you. But I do have this proclamation, and so glad that we could do this for you. Whereas Teresa Jackson Waller Price has devoted a century of her life to strengthening her community through compassion, leadership, and tireless service. Whereas she is known as building bridges with her telephone, Teresa has brought people together across neighborhoods and generations to work towards a common good, fostering relationships that might never have existed without her steadfast commitment. And whereas when the Star Hill neighborhood was selected for the first federal community development block grant, Teresa patient leadership and quiet persistence ensured that the residents' voices were heard, questions were answered, and the neighborhood ultimately flourished. And whereas a teacher at Lane High School during the challenging era of school integration, and later as a beloved librarian at Clark, Teresa guided countless students and guided wisdom, easing transition, and cultivating understanding. And whereas Teresa opened her home to African American students at the University of Virginia during their early integration years, offering them calm, belonging, and encouraging to pursue their education in face of adversity. And whereas through her tireless advocacy and organizing, Teresa played a central role in saving the historic Jefferson School and Carver Rec Center, ensuring that they continue to serve as vital community centers for education, culture, and community life. And whereas the efforts have been recognized with numerous honors, including the Reflector Award from the Jefferson School, the African American Heritage Center, and the Martin Luther King Community Award through Teresa's, though Teresa herself remains very humble, calling herself simply a good volunteer. Now therefore it be we, the City of Charlottesville City Council, do hereby recognize and commemorate the 100th birthday of Teresa Jackson Walker Price. On behalf of a grateful community, we extend our deepest gratitude and warmest congratulations on this momentous occasion with our adoration for a life so beautifully and purposefully lived. Signed this day, the 17th of November, 2025 by me.
Tell me I couldn't make a speech. Thank you. Thank you so much for that nice proclamation of us. All these years, I've had a good time in Charlottesville. I knew Lloyd Snook when he was running around. I've gone through a long journey, had a good time, and I'm glad to see everybody.
Nice.
Thank you so much.
I would say I wasn't quite that small, but I knew her son in 8th grade, so.
She's still in the business, so.
Interesting, when I'm sitting here receiving this award, my grandmother grew up on this plot of ground. This was a home place of my grandmother, and the city confiscated it.
There we go. Thank you.
Change happens.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we're learning and we're growing as a community. Thank you. We're now at the opportunity for Community Matters. We have 7 positions for pre-registered, and so that we have 9 opportunities. But first, we have comments from an invited guest, Ms. Delia Cohen, who will speak about a TEDx program at the Fluvanna Correction Center for Women next year. So, yes, please.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
So I wanted to tell you all about this exciting TEDx event that is happening March 11th of next year at the Fluvanna Correctional Center for Women, which is, 20 minutes away from here? TED Talks, if you don't know, are kind of like inspirational lectures and often have an idea to improve the world. I have been working with a group of incarcerated women and a few staff people there since last December organizing this event. We opened up auditions to the entire prison, staff and incarcerated, to try out for this TED Talk. And about 65 women auditioned and maybe a dozen staff. We also have outside speakers, including the illustrious mayor, we hope.
Yes.
The woman who controls the organization that Mark Zuckerberg gave all a lot of money too for criminal justice. She's speaking. We have a really interesting inventor who's speaking. And the audience is half incarcerated women from the facility and some prison staff, and half community leaders from around here. Some people are coming from Richmond and DC, even Arkansas. And one person's coming from Japan, somebody from France. And some of the things that the women are talking about are, one woman is comparing transforming in prison to the process of alchemy. Another one is a violinist and is going to play for us. We always try to include as speakers at least one correctional officer, one survivor of crime, somebody from law enforcement. And this is not the first TEDx event in a prison in Virginia. I organized one last year at Green Rock Correctional Center in Chatham, Virginia, and the head of the Virginia's Department of Corrections, Chadwick Dotson, he spoke at the event, and he liked it so much that he said, please come back and do it for the women so that they have a chance to experience it. And incarcerated women are often overlooked because they are such a small percentage of the incarcerated population. So I'm really happy that we're doing this at Fluvanna. I don't know if anybody has any questions about it, but I would certainly love all of you city council to go. And if anybody wants to attend or learn more information about it, you should go to my website, which is proximityforjustice.org, and you can email me at info@proximityforjustice.org. And the last thing I'll tell you is that I've been doing this for 12 years in prisons all around the country, and the talk that has gone the most viral, that's been seen over 10 million times, it's called How I Learned to Read and Trade Stocks in Prison. Thank you very much. Are there questions?
Yeah.
When is it?
March 11th, 2026, and it's all day long, and it's not just talks. The E in TED stands for entertainment, so there will be lots of entertainment as well.
Yeah, thank you. I went to check out the site, not before I agreed to speak, but I just wanted to know what the brother was getting into. So, but it's amazing and transformational to hear the speakers on both sides, whether they're incarcerated or not, to tell their stories. So I don't know what I'm going to speak on yet, but we'll talk. So, if you could give that site one more time. And
Okay, so
Tina, if you could, we can put it on the site, or the city council site too.
the website is Proximity for Justice, and the email is info@proximityforjustice.org.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you. You heading back up in upstate New York?
Wednesday.
Wednesday, great. Thank you so much. We're now at Community Matters, and I'm not sure if Adrian Dent did. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Tonight, I share a few comments regarding your November 3rd decision to vote to move forward with vacating Clark Court for the Jefferson Scholars Program. The board of the Fry Spring Neighborhood Association wrote each of you an email requesting that this application be denied, emphasizing that the public parking spaces on Clark Court are a valuable asset to our neighbors and to our neighborhood businesses. These parking spaces are used regularly by patrons and nearby businesses. In its presentation to you, the Jefferson Scholars Program communicated that they had a working relationship with nearby businesses whereby patrons and employees could use their parking during non-business hours. The Jefferson Scholars indicated that this understanding would continue should the city vacate Clark Court. It's a wonderful vision, but it's not realistic. Having spoken with several of the nearby businesses, Collectively, this understanding does not exist. The comments regarding this communal relationship were misleading and greatly understate the value of the 5 public parking spaces found in Clark Court. I'm going to take a minute for a breath. Additionally, the Jefferson Scholars presentation claimed a 16-year history of regular dialogue with the Fry Spring Neighborhood Association. I have been active in the FSNA for over 16 years, serving off and on the board, and this assertion is not congruent with our association's institutional knowledge. I'm unfamiliar with any dialogue between our neighborhood association and the Jefferson Scholars Program. Considering the staff's informed and measured suggestion that the application for vacation be denied based ultimately on insufficient evidence of public gain, given the FSNA board's request that this application be denied, and given the distortions of the Jefferson Scholar Program's presentation to you, I am greatly disheartened at your 3-2 vote to move forward. I appreciate Councilor Payne's and Councilor Oshrin's comments and their decision to largely based on staff recommendation vote against vacating this public street so that a private entity may create a private drive. Given the falsehoods which contributed to the yes vote, I ask that you reconsider this matter entirely. If you then decide to continue the process of vacating Clark Court, I ask that the city insists on the replacement of each public parking space forfeited with its vacation of Clark Court. I ask that the immediate neighbors' needs be considered during this process. And not to delete the message, but I also wanted to mention that as a multiply disabled person, it's very difficult for many of us to show up for public comments. So if you could reconsider the Zoom comment option, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Dent. Joy?
Good evening. My name
Good
is
evening.
Joy Johnson, and I am the chair of FAR. This is the 7th City Council meeting that I have attended, trying to make noise to make sure, or to make, and to keep on letting you know that we would like for you to change the zoning code. At the last City Council work session, you all said you needed to study the rest of 10th and Page in Fifield. We don't need any more study. Residents are already coming to council, and we hope you are listening. Low-income black residents are just as important as any residents or group in the city of Charlottesville. But in Charlottesville, it feels like there are only one group that city council listens to when it comes to housing. And I'm here to say low-income residents of color are just as important as them. The zoning needs to change because it does not allow student housing to offer on-site affordable units. Student housing developers are required to pay into the affordable fund, but they are paying much lower fees, almost half of non-student housing fee. Student housing developers should have the option to build affordable unit one size, or to be required to pay full market rate price into the fund. The zoning also defines student housing within a half a mile from UVA. But developers are using Stacy Hall as the marker. And that's causing these luxury student apartments to encroach on our community. One, we need core neighborhood overlay on all core neighborhoods. Two, we need multiple opportunity to challenge these kinds of development. The BAR is not even guaranteed. Building guarantee that just because we have that one voice that it will change anything. If it weren't for those two tiny cottages on 7.5 Street, they would have already built that 7-story building. Please reconsider about our communities. Thank you. I hope you're listening to Mr. Freeze.
Thank you, George. Lucy Gunter? Lucy?
Look, right. So I was interested in the topic of the potential developments on West Main Street just because it frustrates me that it seems like the only way that anything can get built nowadays is just if some investor with a lot of money decides that they can make even more money by building some expensive apartment that they can rent out for some unaffordable amount. And it just seems like economically, mathematically, there has to be some better way, as in, if there was more public housing, if the city spent the same amount of money that LV Collective is willing to spend and were to just hypothetically hire the same contractors and use the same materials and even the same plans, though preferably it could be a plan that was more in line with what the community wants and needs in the area, then the city could build the same sort of housing but save money on not having to spend for property taxes and wouldn't have to pay shareholders or landlords for any of that. And so you could build more affordable housing and get the same return on investment, just hypothetically. And so I was wondering why it seems like very little public housing has been built in the last 30 years. And my understanding is that this is because of the federal government, because of changes in 1973 when the Nixon administration used the pretext of corruption to say that the public housing as a concept was just untenable, and so instead they left everything to the free market. And so the priority of the federal government would have changed from, instead of building public housing that would compete with local landlords and helping state and local governments to build that and bring down the cost of rent, to instead just subsidizing through stuff like Section 8 to offset the cost of living increasing for families. Mm-hmm. The cost of housing, the median amount of rent, cost of rent in the United States went from $108 a month in 1970, which is like $850 in today's money, to $1,487 per month in 2024, which is a 70% increase, accounting for inflation. Mm-hmm. It just, we are paying more in rent because of that increase than we would hypothetically be paying to build and maintain public housing through taxes. And so my hope is that, given that the elections 2 weeks ago brought in a new state government, that now would be a good time for the city to work with state leaders and have plans to build and expand and improve public housing, rather than just selling off parts of the community to, or selling off the land of the community to some billionaire in Texas. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Gunter. Aylin Dutt.
Good evening, Council. My name is Aylin Dutt, and I'm a current student at UVA and a member of UVA's Friends of FAR, who many of you see behind me today. And we are here to support West Haven and 10th and Page residents against the LV Collective development. I would like to take the time to review some claims that have been made by City Council members regarding a study about decreasing rents in Austin, Texas due to increased development. Broadly speaking, for those who don't know, the study found that negative rent growth in Austin was due to an increased demand from renters and thus an increased supply from developers. The study states that this economic principle holds true for all cities in the U.S., and these general claims have broadly been used to justify the development of LV. While building more units faster may seem like a simple and viable solution, the reality for Charlottesville is much more complicated. For towns surrounding large public universities like UVA, a study in 2024 published by the Journal of Planning, Education, and Research found that newly built rental housing in university neighborhoods does not address the primary concerns of existing residents, nor does it soak up housing demand like in Austin. In fact, the development of luxury student housing bifurcates the student market, with high-income students moving towards luxury develop and lower-income students being pushed into older community housing and further displacing local residents. Rather than meeting demand at market rate, these developments often attract wealthy white residents into historically Black and previously affordable neighborhoods, further burdening affordable housing stock and increasing housing costs. Furthermore, researchers found that in towns located near large universities, student-oriented housing development further exacerbated housing pressures across the board and did not reduce the additional pressures. The supply and demand forces in Charlottesville function vastly different than those in Austin, and they cannot be compared. Much of the supply and demand for housing in Charlottesville is directly influenced by the influx of university students and student-oriented housing. When UVA follows through on their plans to house all first and second years by 2030, large developments like LV Collective will begin seeing lower capture rates regardless of increased student population. The towering stories of LV could be rendered empty due to other existing developments within UVA and privately like the Verb on JPA. The LV Collective development will serve as a reminder and a permanent symbol in the community of the Council's prioritization of profits and students over the local community. I urge the City Council to make transparent the intent behind this development and why we are continuing to let it happen, so that it is abundantly clear to which side the Council resides. The residents of Charlottesville do not want this development. The students of UVA do not want this development. And it leaves me to beg the question, why does the City Council want this development? Do you serve profits or do you serve your people? Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Terry Tyree. Terry Tyree. Ms. Tyree, it's good seeing you again.
You too, thank you. My name is Terry Tyree. I'm a resident at South First Street and an intern at FAR and Virginia Organizing. Good evening, and thank you all for the opportunity to speak. I come before you today also deeply troubled by the proposed LV Collective development on West Main Street. At first, it may seem like just another student housing project, but for the West Haven community, it is much more than that. It is a reminder of a painful history and a real risk to the future of a neighborhood that has long been overlooked. West Haven is not just any neighborhood. It's Charlottesville's oldest public housing development, and its history is inseparable from the legacy of Vinegar Hill, the Black community that was raised in the 1960s. The scars of urban renewal are still visible socially, physically, and emotionally. Many West Haven residents are the descendants of those displaced from Vinegar Hill. Now, LV Collective proposes to build an 11, now 8-story luxury student apartment building right next door. Even though under the current zoning, this is by right, the impact on the West Haven neighborhood would be profound. The key concerns that I have consistently heard expressed are physical and psychological overwhelm, disrespect of community-led vision, lack of genuine community engagement, historical injustice repeating itself, threat to equity, access, and community and cultural identity, and structural power imbalances. What I urge this body to do, politely, is demand significant reductions in height, not just 3 stories. The current proposal is not compatible with the scale and the needs of the West Haven residents. Require meaningful participatory design, not just presentation and consultation, but give residents real decision-making power. Revisit zoning rules in areas like West Main, especially when adjacent to public housing, to restore discretionary review and accountability. Prioritize deeply affordable housing, not just affordable enough to meet a by right requirement, and to support the West Haven residents' own vision, walkways, green space, community centers, not in walls. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tyree. Ms. Tyree, you did a great job. Thank you. Alicia?
Good evening. My name is Alicia Lenahan. I'm a resident of the county. Since April, you have been reminded that stripping constitutional rights from our immigrant and refugee neighbors threatens all our rights. Since April, you have been reminded that far from targeting violent criminals, the administration sweeps up anyone it wants to, including American citizens. In July, you were presented with a resolution that requires ICE agents to be unmasked, identify themselves, present warrants, and drive marked vehicles. Excerpts are worth reading into the record because the situation has only gotten worse. Quote, ICE tactics have been widely documented in national media and public forums, creating confusion and fear among residents, undermining the ability to verify whether those carrying out enforcement are legitimate federal agents or individuals posing as law enforcement. Numerous reports and video evidence show that U.S. citizens and immigrants with lawful status have been detained, questioned, or targeted, exacerbating distrust and public safety risks, end quote. The resolution lists values that we all hope are held dear by this body. Quote, the City of Charlottesville is committed to the rule of law, civil rights, and the safety and dignity of all its residents regardless of immigration status. The City of Charlottesville reaffirms its commitment to due process, equal protection, and the rights of all individuals within its jurisdiction. The City of Charlottesville will continue to uphold its values as a safe, inclusive, and law-abiding community where government transparency and public safety remain paramount. The City of Charlottesville strongly condemns using unmarked vehicles, masked agents, and unidentifiable personnel in immigration enforcement activities conducted within the city and views such tactics as harmful to public trust, community safety, and constitutional principles, end quote. You have been unwilling to take a principled stand based on ideals. Perhaps this development will provide you with the shield of pragmatism. The FBI issued a bulletin and public warnings about criminals impersonating ICE agents in early November of this year. The internal bulletin was circulated to all law enforcement agencies and detailed several instances throughout 2025 where individuals posed as immigration officers to commit violent crimes, including robberies and kidnappings. The FBI urged all law enforcement to adequately identify themselves during operations and to help the public distinguish between legitimate agents and imposters. It is not unreasonable or radical to expect ICE agents to be unmasked, identifiable, drive marked vehicles, and provide legal documentation authorizing their presence.
Thank you. I forgot to ask Rebecca Newell. Sorry. Hello.
Hi, thanks for having me. My name is Rebecca Newell, and I'm a member of the Fifeville neighborhood. I'm here today asking you to please pause the traffic calming quick build project that is slated to begin in our neighborhood this December. Fifeville is a highly engaged neighborhood, and we ask for help back in the fall of 2023 when neighbors came together and petitioned for a traffic study done because the 501 Cherry would increase the number of cars in our neighborhood. Our concerns were speed on 5th Street as a cut through from West Main to Cherry Ave. We worked hard and got 50% of houses to sign the petition for the traffic study. In June of 2024, after data were collected, the results and a draft plan were shared to the Fifeville Neighborhood Association by Brennan Duncan. These data showed 85% of cars followed the speed limit of 25 miles per hour, but a whopping 15% of cars were speeding at extremely high rates of over 40 and even 45 miles per hour in our neighborhood. And I know that you all know how narrow and small our streets are in Fifeville. Brennan Duncan provided a draft of a plan that included major directional changes to many one-way streets. Many neighbors had feedback and wanted to understand how these data led to the complicated plan by Brennan Duncan. The Fifeville Neighborhood Association reached out to Brennan Duncan many times following the June 2024 meeting to engage the neighborhood and provide feedback. Brennan had been promoted and was busy with his new workload and unable to reply to us. No detailed information was provided to the community explaining the plan or how these data resulted in the very cumbersome plan with many one-way roads having directional changes. Fast forward to October 15th of 2025, the new traffic engineer, Caleb Smith, informed the FNA and put up a few signs informing small parts of the Fifeville neighborhood that traffic changes would happen this December. with only a 2-week email feedback period. Over 50 community members provided extensive feedback via email with no replies or explanation or answers to even basic questions. Prior to this sudden move forward with the draft ideas Brennan Duncan provided over a year ago, no opportunities for feedback were provided. Only after several emails that CC'd City Council and other city officials did Brennan and Caleb reluctantly agree to any community engagement. During this process, these two city engineers have provided no clear description of how data collected resulted in the plan provided, no clear format for collecting and synthesizing community feedback, no plan to address community concerns. Furthermore, they have treated community members with condescending replies and even laughed at our concerns. Both engineers said they would be moving forward with the plan regardless of how the neighborhood felt. Both engineers stated sidewalks were not their responsibility. Both engineers said that speed enforcement was a police job and Fifeville will not receive any enforcement because we are a marginalized community. Both engineers stated the fire chief will not allow for two-way traffic as a slowing method despite data that prove its effectiveness. Please, please, we beg you to pause this plan.
Thank you, Ms. Lynn. Thank you. We have the opportunity for, is it 9? Yes. Who else would like to speak? Yes.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sophia Marrero, and I am a community organizer at the Public Housing Association of Residents. I'm here to speak about LB Collective's desire to build an extremely huge luxury student housing building on Main Street. As you have heard from others, especially the residents of West Haven, they do not want this. They do not want this building. The history of Vinegar Hill should serve as evidence for the horrors the city has done against Black residents. We must learn from this and say never again. I also want to reiterate that housing is a human right, and by housing I mean affordable, realizable, safe housing. What the city needs is more affordable housing, not more ginormous buildings that overshadow communities that have existed for decades. It is necessary to change the zoning code and provide more opportunities for residents to input on developments in their own neighborhoods, specifically the core neighborhoods. It is necessary to implement stronger, better, more gradual height and massing transitions for core neighborhoods in the areas bordering them. UVA must also be held accountable. It is necessary to truly look at that 0.5-mile radius that allows developers to not have to pay as much money for affordable housing and get rid of it. Last thing I'll say is I'm not from Charlottesville, but I moved here to attend UVA and found my home here. I found my community. I met people who inspired me to become the person I am today, and to them I am eternally thankful. Everyone deserves to have that. Everyone deserves to have a home, to have a safe space, to have a community. We should be empowering communities, not overshadowing them. We should be uplifting them, not silencing them as they have been throughout history. I urge you to strongly think about your place as city council, and your right to serve your constituents. Residents don't want it, and students don't want it. Thank you.
Thank you. Who else would like to speak?
Hi, I am Joe Lawson. I live on 7.5 Street Southwest. I'm here also to kind of plead that the Fifeville calming plan be at least paused for the feedback that the community has given back to be considered and actually reconciled. It's our understanding that one of the imperatives driving this is that it is a quick build project, and we were curious in one of the meetings how many quick build wins kind of city manager was getting, thinking it would be a low number, but it turned out to be 40 plus. And so we're just asking that for this quick build to be paused so that we can actually get our feedback in, especially with the one-way switches, the lack of signage, and also it's unclear how the rollout would even be phased, what the comment periods would be. We were told that it's just happening and our only chance was to present our case to City Council and to the City Manager. So I am asking you all on behalf of the neighborhood to at least pause that from going forth until the comments can be at least addressed and heard, and the community can get data regarding what's driving the decision. If it's just the quick build, we ask that we take one quick build off the board. If there is data that is available. We don't want the pictures. We'd like to actually work with the data so that we can also follow as the period is evaluated, so that we can understand how the traffic is adjusting and stuff like that. None of that's been planned out or spelled out to us. It's a great concern because, as it was stated earlier, we engaged to petition the city to get something done. It kind of fell on the wayside. There was some interactions, but then the signs just showed up haphazardly, and that's kind of when we found out that our petition was heard. So we appreciate the city engaging to work on this particular problem. However, the way that it's gone about, we don't think it's suitable for a quick build. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak over here? Ms. Tyree, wait, you can speak, since you already spoke, you can speak when we have it, the next one at the end, okay? Yes, sir.
Thank you. My name is Frank Bechter. I'm a resident of Fifeville. Mr. Mayor, City Manager, Council. The zoning code of the city needs some adjustment, and every related department in the city needs to adopt that as their general understanding. There's complications in changing the code, but in particular we have projects that have been spoken of that are scheduled to move forward or could move forward, and every department that is related to these proposals, the fire department, the city planner, the traffic department, the building official, can't just give no comments, as recently happened in some of those cases. They need to weigh in fully with full scrutiny of these proposals. Please let me quote from a recent email, not from long ago, but from the new traffic manager for the city, Caleb Smith, who's been spoken of. And this is a really excellent comment that I thank him for. It's regarding a different matter, the matter that you've just heard of. But their department proposes to make modest adjustments without permanently altering the neighborhood's character. So that is in a city document by a city official saying, we don't want to permanently alter the neighborhood's character. But as we know, the proposal for 7th Street will not only alter the neighborhood's character, it will completely annex a city block, more or less, with an absolutely huge building that will certainly permanently alter the neighborhood's character, but it will in fact annex it. No Fifeville residents will live there, and that is prime real estate for the affordable housing that's been spoken of and that every Fifeville resident would like to see there. I've been told by people who know about these things more than I that RX5 zoning essentially means 7-story student housing, because that's the kind of thing that a developer will do to bring in optimal money. Now, it's worth noting too how this traffic study that you've heard of came to pass, and it has been noted. We knocked door to door and got residents, 50% of residents on every street in the neighborhood, not just my street that I was concerned about, every street. We had volunteers doing that. And I asked the city, what did it do to make its zoning absolutely clear to those residents, as we were required to do when we wanted to address traffic calming in our neighborhood? Were we told, you know, RX5 means there's probably going to be an outside developer proposing a 7-story building with 600 beds in it for that space? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone
If I
else
could
like to speak?
submit this letter just for your records. I've highlighted them.
Oh, try over here, anyone?
Hi, Mayor Wade. Hi, Council. Thank you for having me again. You've heard from me before. My name is Rachel Mulvaney. I am here on behalf of the UVA Club Friends of FAR to support the residents of West Haven and 10th and Page against the LV Collective proposal. I just wanted to take a moment for all of the Friends of FAR members / allies in the room to stand so that you could get a sense of the scale of the group that is here against LV Collective. This is just a fraction of the Friends of FAR communication stream that we have organizing ourselves, and we will keep organizing on this issue. So I just wanted you to take in this room and see it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the middle would like to speak?
Hello, Council. I didn't bring a prepared remark, but something kind of hit me when I was walking in today. I'm new to Charlottesville as of about 2 months ago, and I feel my perspective is actually valuable as a new resident because I can see the problems that maybe longtime residents can't. And I know that this is a problem that the longtime residents do see, but it is really apparent. It is the homelessness issue in Charlottesville it's horrible. And I think what's more striking really is I walked in and I think I saw 4 or 5 homeless people between the bus stop and the downtown mall in here, which is shocking really anywhere. And I think even more shocking is the fact that when I'm in Stonefield, I don't see a single homeless person. Frankly, UVA, you may or may not, but they're not everywhere. If you walk down the downtown mall in the middle of the day, you probably can't count on your hands how many you see. So I'd really just like to ask the council, how do you fix this problem? Because we're talking a lot about affordable housing, and there's no one in this room to speak for them today. But I think something has to be done really quickly. I mean, it's getting cold outside, so yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry, what was your name, sir?
Oh, Braden.
Brandon?
Braden Dean.
Thank you. Anyone over here like to speak? Anyone over here? There'll be another opportunity later. Anyone in the middle? Thank you so much. We'll close the public comment period at this time, and we will now have the city manager's report.
The city manager's report this evening is, I'm sorry, go ahead. Consent agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes. Consent agenda.
Consent agenda, number 4, minutes, May 19th, 2025, regular meeting, October 6th, 2025, regular meeting. 5, ordinance amending City Code Article 16, Police Civilian Oversight Board, second reading. Resolution to appropriate Virginia Department of Historic Resources grant funds to the Jefferson School African American Heritage Center, $500,000, one of 2 readings. 7, resolution to approve critical slope special exception at 1000 2nd Street Southeast.
I move for adoption of the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. We could vote on this, please. Okay. The motion passes 5. Okay. It did come up. I clicked it. The motion passes 5-0. Now we'll go to the city manager's report.
Mr. Mayor and Council, tonight, this is the quarter in which we bring forward the quarterly financial report. So the city treasurer, Jason Vandiver, and Ms. Hamill, our budget and grants director, are going to give you a presentation on this quarter's financial report.
All right, good evening. I think I'm up first.
Yes.
My name is Jason Vandiver. I'm the city treasurer. So I think the plan tonight is to talk a little bit about the retirement fund, the city's retirement plans, and then Chrissy will be giving a quarterly review, the financial report. So you may remember last year we took an opportunity at the November meeting to talk a little bit about the city's retirement plans, give an overview of the results from the prior fiscal year and look forward a little bit to the next budget cycle and how that might play out. So we're going to do that again tonight. So just as a reminder, the city has two separate retirement plans. The first is a traditional defined benefit pension plan that also includes other post-employment benefits such as medical, dental, and a small life insurance benefit. The plan was started around the 1950s or so by City Council. It's an independent plan, which is somewhat unique in the state of Virginia, as most localities participate in the Virginia retirement system. And a pension plan is, what you think of as a general traditional plan where the benefit is based on the employee's salary and years of service, and there's a multiplier that defines that benefit pension at their retirement. It's payable throughout the rest of their life. The other option, so the employee gets to choose when they come to the city, is a 401A defined contribution plan. So that's very similar to what you would see in the private sector for a 401K plan. So the city makes a set contribution each pay period to the employee's account, and then it's a self-directed, employee-led investment account that they can choose the investments from a selection that's been made available in the plan. Historically, since that plan has been put into place, about 2/3 of employees pick the defined benefit plan, and about 1/3 of employees choose the defined contribution plan. And that's, for the most part held since then, although interestingly in the last year or two we have seen an uptick in the employees picking the defined contribution plan. So you'll see that a little bit later in the presentation. And then employees in both plans, because they can't make their own contributions to the 401A plan, they have an opportunity to contribute to a deferred compensation plan, which is just sort of a self-directed investment plan. And they make pre-tax contributions or post-tax contributions, and those funds are available once they leave employment with the city. So just an oversight, all of those plans are overseen by the Retirement Commission. So the commission is made up of employees, a member of City Council, which is Councilor Pinkston, city manager, several staff members, a retiree, and then 2 community members. So the employees are represented from across the plans and across the city. So currently we have a library employee, an employee from the police department, and an employee from Public Works. So they serve a term of several years and then have the opportunity to either continue or have somebody else take their place. So right now the committee is fully staffed, and all the positions are filled and very engaged in the work that we're doing. So just a quick overview of the plan assets. In the pension plan, currently at the end of the fiscal year, $194 million. That is an increase. The plan had a pretty good year financially, which we'll go into the details a little bit later. But the OPEB trust, which again is primarily as insurance benefits, is all the funds are invested together, but the OPEB trust is technically a separate trust, about $68 million. And so just for comparison, last year the pension plan had $172 million, and so it grew about 11%, and now there's $194 million. So everything moving in the right direction, and certainly that's a reflection of the contributions that city and employees have made, but also the market returns that we experienced. So defined contribution plans, you can see it's a smaller plan. That's the sum of all the individual accounts for each employee, $36 million. And then those contributions and investment earnings that employees have made, and their accounts have grown in the deferred compensation plan of around $42 million. So just an overview of all of the plans and assets that the commission oversees in some capacity. So services for plan participants. On staff level, we have an HR retirement administrator, and that is Lisa Birch, and she is here, and happy to answer any questions, I'm sure. But she is sort of the day-to-day face of the retirement fund to both retirees and active employees. So questions they have about their pending retirement or retirees who have questions about their benefits, she's going to be the first point of contact for them. Additionally, throughout the year, HR and Lisa, along with our third-party administrators, provide educational sessions, lunch and learns, webinars, that sort of thing for all of our active employees and retirees. They also have access to a retirement planning specialist who they can meet on-site or online if they have specific questions about their accounts, specific questions about their asset allocation and investment decisions that they're trying to make. And then everyone as well, as a benefit of the third-party administrator that we use, has access to a certified financial planner for sort of those deeper questions that they might have about their financial planning situation. So just an overview of some of those additional benefits that are offered to employees. So sort of a recap of fiscal year 25, which just wrapped up at the end of June. The funded status of the pension plan improved by just over 7%, which is great. Again, that's from contributions both from the city and employees, as well as an investment return that exceeded the expected rate of return. Additionally, City Council fully funded the actuarially determined contribution, as well as funding all impacts of collective bargaining and any changes to pay scales that have occurred over the last few years. So that's been something that you all have been committed to, and the city manager has been committed to, is when those changes occur, we've made sure that we are able to quantify those changes to you and make that commitment either through the budgetary process or year-end process to make sure that we're not negatively impacting the funded status of the plan. Additionally, on the defined contribution side, as those plan assets grow, there are other share classes available to the city that are lower cost investment structures. And so we executed several agreements on the funds that will save plan participants over $30,000 in management fees every year. So that was something really great that we've accomplished in the last few months for the plan. As well, on the DC and 457 plan, there were some additional provisions that were authorized by the Secure Act, Secure 2.0, to allow employees for certain either withdrawal provisions or additional contribution provisions based on their age. And so those were things that we added to the plan documents that were just recently allowable. On the administrative side, on the Retirement Commission, we created and adopted bylaws for the first time, which takes longer than you would think, although I guess you all have been through that too. So, and the electronic meeting provisions as well, which have been really useful for a lot of the plan members. We meet at 8:30 in the morning, so sometimes being able to meet remotely has been a benefit. And then finally, there were several updates that we made that we brought to City Council that were approved. One was a clarification around public safety disability provisions and eligibility, just clarifying that whether a public safety officer is in the pension plan or the defined contribution plan, that they are eligible for those public safety disability benefits, as well as the fire department added an EMS-only role to try to fill some of those harder to fill spots, and we updated city code to make sure that they were classified as public safety employees as well. So just a breakdown of the asset allocation and the pension and OPEB trust. This is similar to last year. The only note that I'm going to make here is obviously the fund is, very heavily invested in domestic equity, and we spent the last 2 months really looking into that and doing some rebalancing in the fund, as we've had 3 years of pretty solid gains, and some of these allocations were slightly overweight or underweight, and so just as a measure of caution and sticking to the plan policy, we did make some allocation changes and rebalancing that was about $12 million, and that was just completed last month. So you can see here the return on investments, the 1-year return just over 12%, the 3-year return at 11%, and the 10-year return around 8.5%. And I mentioned before the actuarial return, which is calculated slightly differently, was exactly 11%. So we do have an assumed rate of return of 7.5% based on the plan's investment strategies. And so as you can see, the 10-year mark is exceeded that by around 1%. So this slide, this goes back 10 years. This is sort of the journey that we've been on as a city, as a plan. In 2015, the city embarked on a sustainability study in regards to retirement benefits and the retirement plan. And there were lots of compromises and strategies put into place both from retirees, employees, the city manager's office, and city council to make sure that the plan that we were offering and the promises that we had made to employees would remain intact, that we'd be able to meet those promises and fund future benefits. retirements for our employees. And so the goal was that we would, within 10 to 12 years, exceed the 80% funded status and be well on our way to 100% funded. And as you can see, there have been some ups and downs over the years, but generally moving in the right direction. The funded status has improved from in 2016 when we really started and embarked on this from 50% now at 76%. So that's really been, a testament to your commitment to fund the plan every year and make additional contributions when we can. And we're very close to reaching that goal of 80%. And, probably it's hard to say, whether we'll actually be there in 2 years, given volatility in the market, but that at least is on track to reach that goal of 80%, which is kind of what we set out to do around 10 years ago. So really pleased with the way this chart has turned out. But we'll see what it looks like next year. Just a quick overview. I mentioned that there's also a separate OPEB trust. Those assets are invested alongside the pension, but it is a separate trust. I think I mentioned last time, localities have to disclose their OPEB liabilities on their balance sheet. And so everyone does. Most localities don't pre-fund them the way that Charlottesville does. That's something unique in our approach. And that trust is funded at 93%. So we're 76% on the pension side, 93% on the OPEB side. When you put those together, the overall liability is actually funded at 80% altogether. And so that's right where we want to be, and we'll continue to fund the plan and fund those required contributions until we get much closer to 100%. So I mentioned the sustainability study. I won't go over that again. But we're going to continue to honor those commitments and do everything that we can to reach those funding goals over the next few years. And with that, I will open up if there are any questions.
Thank you. So, sounds pretty good, but Brian, is that the committee that you're?
Yeah. Jason and Lisa did a great job managing all of that, so thank you for the update.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Lloyd, do you have any?
Just for the benefit of folks out there who hear that we're funding 80% of our pension liabilities, that sounds like we're underfunding. Are we?
No, actually the city is overfunding the required contribution. So there is an unfunded liability that is currently being amortized over a set time period. And that, when you say 80%, there's sort of this goal, it's sort of a commonly accepted benchmark that a plan is healthy, that you are not in danger of running out of assets at any point in the future, and that you are close enough that you can catch up in a reasonable amount of time. So we mentioned in 2015 there were some assumption changes that lowered the funded status, but gave us a more realistic picture of where we were, and there were a lot of funding strategies that were put into place around funding cost of living increases when they were granted, making sure that we had adopted the most recent mortality tables for the plan, that as people live longer, that we're making sure that we're recognizing those assumptions in the contributions that we're making. And so we are on the way to reaching 100% funded status. It's something that takes time. And so to go from 50% to 76%, in less than 10 years, I think, is a great step, and certainly those extra contributions that the city has made, when changes are made to bring on a new collective bargaining unit or something like that, we've immediately funded that liability as soon as it's incurred. So we're doing all of the right things and taking all of the right steps, and certainly it's something that budgetarily the city has been able to do up until this point. So
10 years ago we were at 50%?
Yes.
And the goal is to get to 100?
Yeah, eventually. Once you get to 100%, you sort of shed that unfunded liability that is for past, it's incurred in the past, and then you're really only funding the normal costs, which is the costs that are incurred each year as benefits as employees are accruing those benefits. And so then those costs go down because you're only funding 1 year's worth of benefits. Right now we're playing catch up a little bit because of some things that happened 20 or 30 years ago. But going forward, once you pay off that unfunded liability, which is kind of like once you pay off your mortgage, then you just sort of have upkeep expenses. Right. So.
Okay, thank you.
Michael?
You already said this, but just to kind of underline and make sure I'm hearing you correctly. So the the cost of the collective bargaining and the increase of retirement benefits that came along with that is something that's already funded from your end, that's baked in, funded.
It is, yeah. So it's funded ongoing and the contributions that the city is going to make, but that one-time cost that would have been incurred was funded by council in the last 2 years. And so that's, you know, it did not negatively impact the funded status, and it's built into all the projections going forward.
Mm-hmm. And just kind of out of curiosity, obviously, you know, the progress in recent years from, you know, around 50% to where we are now and hopefully on track for 80%. Is positive. What's kind of the average for localities in Virginia who aren't part of VRS? And just out of curiosity.
Yeah, I would say historically, because we were playing catch up a little bit, the city's funded status was probably historically in the lower 25% of those plans, and there are only 9 to 11 plans or so. It's changed. Some of them have joined VRS. And so they just sort of have a legacy plan for employees who have either vested a benefit or retired already. And so we were playing catch up. I think now we're probably in the middle of the pack or so with where we are on our funded status among those independent plans.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's it. Thank you.
Okay.
First of all, congratulations on your reelection. I know that was a nail biter.
Nail biter.
But this all looks, pretty rosy. We're not quite at a lot of our goals, but the projections we're headed in the right direction. Are there any concerns or challenges that we should be aware of coming up, or that you're contending with now?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I think, you see that line that's just gone straight up, for the last 10 years. Certainly a market correction. The funded status is greatly dependent on the return on assets. And so, a 20% downturn or something like that would negatively impact the funded status. And so that's something that we're aware of. And even though the funded status has improved and the city's contribution rates have eased slightly, over the last few years, it's certainly something that we're very cognizant of, and we've tried to, when we can, make sure that we're contributing as much as we can, meeting all of the contribution rate recommendations from the actuary. And like the meeting, they presented their results in October, and they said, hey, look, these look really good right now, but just use some caution, don't take all these savings in 1 year, because next year if you have a down market, you'll be back where you were before. And so that would be the only thing that we're keeping an eye on, that if we do run into a year where we have a significant downturn, we just want to make sure that we haven't done any long-term damage by lowering the contribution rate when we know that that's possible for sure in the next year or two.
Okay, great, thank you.
Sure.
Have no questions. Thank you so much.
I do have one other question, if I might. Back in August in our retreat, we heard a report from our financial advisors that suggested that their indicators were leaning towards recession. Had been for 3 months in a row. Do you have any sense of what the current indicators are from those same folks? I don't know whether you talk to them with any regularity, but.
No, I guess maybe when Christy comes up, she can talk a little bit about that.
Okay. Because I'm looking at the asset allocation, and it's 56% in American equities, and we add emerging markets, international developed markets, and stocks, and so on. And I'm, given the pessimism that we heard back in August, I was sort of expecting perhaps there might be a little bit less growth-oriented approach.
Yeah, and those numbers were as of June 30th, and so we have done rebalancing since then. So those numbers would look slightly different, but that generally is the allocation. And again, it's a long-term portfolio, and these liabilities are very long-term. And so while we might make small changes on the allocation year to year, it's not really necessarily driven by, we think this will happen next year, so we're going to change our strategy.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Chrissy?
Good evening, Council. Chrissy Hamill, Budget Director, Grants of Budget and Grants Management. Now I can't say it. Now is the time of the year when we're basically working in 3 different fiscal years, where finance is working hard to close out FY25. Chris Cullinan, the finance director, will be coming to you sometime in December to give you those results. We're also currently in FY26, and we're here tonight to talk about the performance of the first quarter. And then, as you know, we are also starting to develop the FY27 budget. So we've got lots of years and lots of data in the air, but tonight, as I said, to talk about the first quarter performance of FY26. As it stands right now, at the end of the first quarter, which was September 30th, roughly 27%, or just over $73 million of the general fund budget has been spent. Salary and benefits account for $17.2 million of that, and other expenses total about $56.5 million. This is up slightly from the first quarter of 25. We're at 30.6 for both, as opposed to the 23. Most of that is coming from the timing of payments for annual software licenses and contracted services that are contributing to higher expenditures in this first quarter. We're not concerned about any of those. All of those things were budgeted, so the budget is still tracking. In terms of revenues, we're about 12.5%, or $33 million of the total general fund budget has been collected to date. As you know, real estate and personal property are the two of the biggest revenue sources, and those bills are due on December 5th. So our current revised projections for the 26 revenues are looking a little bit better. I think a couple weeks ago we did a kickoff with you for the 27 budget development. And at that time, we were talking about downward trends that we were seeing for sales and meals. You'll notice in this case, the last 3 months, we've seen some slight upward trends, which we have used to revise our projections slightly for FY26. Noting that we have, for all the revenue adjustments, we are revising our projections to be at 0.35% higher than the budget, at just over $921,000. And this chart here will show you the areas in which we are seeing some revisions. The state revenues are basically being revised because we did not have a final state budget at the time we adopted, so we made some projections there. Most of those were in our favor, except for police protection was down a little bit. Interest income continues to do well. We were thinking that the interest rates would start to fall sooner than they did, or will, and so that is up a bit. And then the refund of prior year expenses, that Mr. Murphy was here earlier tonight, 136-ish of that is a refund from Jaunt for some of their excess, and I can't remember right now what the other one is. But that's what makes up the refund of prior year expenses. Any questions about any of that? Moving on, just quickly, the CIP fund, that has an outstanding budget, or a budget of $261.7 million. That is collective of this year's budget plus carryover budgets. And right now, about $201 million of that remains unspent. And at the end of the quarter one, just under 25%, or $65.3 million was spent or encumbered on the various projects. And so, if there's no questions, I would like to take just a moment. My colleague Brian is on, and we have a Budget Explorer tool, which lives on our budget website, that will give you the opportunity to be able to view these numbers and the detail of these numbers. And so I just want to refresh your memory on the tools that are available. So Brian.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to remind you how to get to the Budget Explorer, first of all, and then walk you through the navigation of the Budget Explorer and the different screens. So first of all, how do you get to the Budget Explorer? So this is the main landing page for the city website. You just go up to Government, come over here to Budget and Grants Management. So this is the main page of the Budget and Grants Management's website. So right here is the Budget Explorer. So you click here and that will take you right to the Budget Explorer. So here is the actual Budget Explorer tool. So just to walk you through the navigation, these tabs across the top here are how you navigate to the different screens. So we have a couple of screens here that cover the general fund. So we have the revenues and the expenditures for general fund, and then we have the revenues and expenditures for all of the other funds, and then we have another tab over here for the CIP. So I'll just walk through each of these screens real quick just to give you an idea of what you can see here. So this is our general fund revenues screen. So at the top here we've got the details of the budget versus the actuals for all of the different major revenue categories. We have some of the larger revenues just isolated, and then we have some of the smaller revenues are just grouped into these categories. And then at the bottom here is just a sort of a visualization of the total revenues collected versus the total budget. And then for each of these screens, you can usually filter at the top here. So on this screen, you can filter to a particular department. So we can look at NDS, for example, and now all of the visualizations filter directly to that department. All right, moving on to expenditures, this similar screen. There's one additional visualization over here, this pie chart. That represents the percent of the total general fund expenses that are being sort of shown on the screen at this time. So we're looking at all of the departments currently. So we see all of the departments and the budget versus actuals for these particular budget areas, and at the bottom the same total expenditures versus total budget. And if you filter to a department again, you can see now this pie chart filters to now you can see the NDS represents 1.56% of the total general fund expenditure budget. Moving along to other funds, so this is same sort of visualizations here, except in this case you can choose entire funds. So now we're looking at the entire general fund here, but you can also switch over and say look at maybe the social services fund. And so the social services fund represents 2.01% of the entire city budget. And then finally we have the CIP over here. So this lists all of the projects that we have in our enterprise system by project, and then the budget sort of versus actual details, and then the totals here at the bottom. And the filter is a little bit different here. In this screen, you can filter by the different sort of categories of CIP projects. So if you want to look at transportation and access, now you filter to just the transportation and access projects. And then an additional filter, which is kind of interesting, is you can select the total amount that has been expended of the available funding for 26. So if you select this 0 to 25%, this will show all the projects that have only expended between 0 and 25% of their available 26 funding. So that is the Budget Explorer in a nutshell. If there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Any questions on that? Okay.
I've spent some time noodling around on it, so
Yeah, it's fun just to play with, so encourage that. So.
it's easy to chase a lot of rabbits down a lot of holes.
Are you finished, Kristen?
We have one other addition that I think you saw a prototype. I always say that, sorry, Brian. I'll get in trouble tomorrow. A prototype but now we have implemented it. So we have also a new quarterly CIP report that's a little more granular than what you see here. And Brian, are you able to scroll? James, do you want to talk about this?
Sure. So as Chrissy mentioned, we've presented on this once before. So we're just putting this up as a reminder. We are asking staff to update this on a quarterly basis, and we are building out the number of projects that are shown in here with the goal of at least adding more of the CIP projects with each quarter as it goes by. But again, this shows project status. It shows location of projects down there at that map on the bottom side. You can sort by different types of projects as before. And if you click on an individual project, it takes you to a detailed page with information about the project and photos and so on. So again, I'm not going to go into details on this. We've been over it once before, but I encourage folks to take a look at it. And as I said, we're trying to keep this updated and get all of our, ultimately get to the point where all of our active CIP projects are shown here so that people can see where those projects are and what their status is.
Just looking at this screen, it is apparent that, for example, where it says Charlottesville Middle School, that embraces more than just one fiscal year.
Yes.
Correct.
What does that do, though, for things like the sidewalk replacement fund, where we allocate a new amount each year, where well, hopefully the projects we had in mind 2 years ago have finally been finished?
Yeah. So that's actually a really interesting question, and one of the ones we're wrestling with as we think about how to use this tool. But the way we're doing that is twofold. One, if we click on new sidewalks, thank you, Brian, you'll see examples of some of the projects that have been completed in that category. But the other thing that we're trying to do is actually pull out the larger sidewalk projects and make them their own standalone line so that you can see those separately and see them actually go to completion. Because otherwise, as you said, if we're adding every year, then the project never completes, right?
Like a Stribling, for example, would have its own line.
Stribling definitely has its own line, and there'll be projects.
How about the just completed Rugby Avenue project?
That has its own line, yeah.
There it is, Rugby Avenue Trail, yeah.
And for a lot of those lump sums, one of the things we've been talking about is we are going to try to get away from those as those funds are allocated. So we might budget a pool of money for new sidewalks, for example, but as James mentioned, then as they get allocated to specific sidewalk projects, they'll show up as an individual line item here. And then one final thing, in addition to all of this updates quarterly, and the other thing is we will be releasing a CIP book on the 18th. No, excuse me. Yes, tomorrow. Told you I'm in 3 years right now. Tomorrow, which will be the packet for the Planning Commission work session on the 25th. The online budget book will have all of the projects that are currently in draft form in the CIP draft that we're working on right now. It will have updated information. It will have very similar information to what you see here for the projects that are in the current draft of the plan. And then you all will be meeting with the Planning Commission on December, I think it's the 9th, in a joint public hearing on that draft.
Any questions or comments? Brian?
Thanks.
Michael?
No, I know
Thank
you've
you. We'll
already.
be seeing a lot of you starting early next year. The bell of the ball.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'll conclude by just referencing these two tools are good examples of the kind of things that we geek out on, especially people like me who've been trying to make sure that we get more information available to the public. These are good ways for you to be able to use this, play around with it, see what questions you can pose, and from that, we'll do our best to give you answers on those. But before I close out, I do want to speak to comments that were made this evening in regards to the Fifeville project. Clearly, I'm recognizing that public engagement is a continued stress point for us. We're continuing to take a look at how we approach that. I have already initiated questions. I will dig into that a little bit more. I won't announce that we'll pause anything at this moment, but I will look into the matter and really see what's going on in regards to where we are, and then provide an update to the neighborhood association and those that have spoken to us about that specifically.
This is the street project.
Yes.
Thank you. We're now into action items, part of the agenda. The first item is a resolution authorizing a lease agreement extension at Carver Rec Center.
And just to repeat for any latecomers, the Dairy Road Bridge project has been taken off the agenda.
To be scheduled at a later date in December.
Good evening, councilors. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present this item. This is a extension for Carver Recreation Center lease. We've been leasing the property, the Jefferson School property, for 15 years. The lease has come, it will be coming to an end. What we have discussed and agreed upon was to put the lease on a physical, our physical year budgeting, so it will be easier for staff to budget the leased amount. So today, I would like to ask council to review and approve this resolution.
Is this a single reading?
This is a single reading?
This is the least, yes, it is a single reading.
Okay. So this is one of the more used facilities that we have. Are there questions on this? Lloyd?
Now, we have a number of broader issues to discuss with this whole thing, but not this particular piece of it.
Yeah.
This is pretty simple.
Michael, you have any?
Likewise, I think the framework of extending it through 2026 and that being a time period to, have larger conversations, I think makes sense as a framework, and I don't have any concerns with what's in front of us tonight.
Yeah. Natalie?
No, nothing for me, thanks.
No. Can I get a motion to approve, please?
I move adoption of the lease extension for Carver Recreation Center.
Second.
Okay, can we vote, please?
I can figure out how to get back to it. There we go.
Good. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for working on that. The next is a resolution to approve an establishment of a sister city partnership with Wayway Tenango. I hope Sherry approves that I said that correctly. And as Mr. Herring comes up, I wore my Guatemala shirt today, and we got a hat that we were there, and part of the delegation was there, so.
Good evening.
Good
Mayor
evening.
Wade, members of the council, admin staff. My name is Edward Herring with the Sister City Commission. This is Kristen Petros, who also was with us on the trip, who's involved with the community action side of our development of Wayway Tenango. Let me go back and give you a very, very brief history to catch us up to the point where we are today. In 2018, a group of teachers and different school parents had requested that we were to look at a sister city, a Spanish-speaking sister city. And we began a process with the approval of council in January of 2018 to search for cities that would be interested. And together with the city, we also, as part of our policy, search for support groups, because each of our sister cities needs to have a support group to work with the community. Now, we have had sister cities now for 48 years. We have a sister city relationship with Poggio in Italy, which will celebrate in 2 years our 50th anniversary. Next year, in 2026, we will celebrate our 20th year anniversary with Besançon in France. And of course, we have a relationship with Winneba in Ghana, and many of you are aware of that. In December of 2020, Council voted to extend an offer to the city of Wayway Tenango in Guatemala to become our friendship city. Friendship city is the first step towards becoming a sister city. It's sort of like getting engaged and then we spent a few years getting to know each other. So we became friendship cities officially on July the 1st, 2021. Some of the time lapse had to do with the pandemic that happened, where we were not able to have meetings, we were not able to travel, and therefore we got started much slower than we normally would have. And of course, since July 2021, we've been actively involved. I made a trip there, the initial trip in 2023, to explore the city, to meet the fathers there, to meet the commission there. The gentleman from Huehuetenango and the vice mayor came here in November of 2023 for their first visit. And most recently, as Mayor Wade said, we took a delegation of 12 people to Huehuetenango. Mayor Wade, Ms. Petros, several people, also from the Guatemala Foundation. Guatemala Foundation represents the community with which we work, which gives us support for our relationship. For a second, if we would, we'd let Ms. Petros speak to the community.
Thank you, Edward. I'm not as off the cuff as Edward. I have some
That's
words
fine.
prepared. So good evening, council members, and thanks for welcoming us. My name is Kristen Petros de Guesh, and I have been a Charlottesville resident for many years. I had the privilege of serving as a Peace Corps volunteer for 4 years in Central America, and during that time I worked shoulder to shoulder with indigenous rural communities in Guatemala and Honduras on community-led health and sanitation projects. More recently, I worked at the Inter-American Foundation, supporting grassroots community development across Latin America. My husband Marco is indigenous Maya from Guatemala's Department of El Quiché, and our children are bilingual and multicultural. And being part of a family that straddles both Charlottesville and Guatemala has given me a deep appreciation for the importance of connection, culture, and shared experience. We also live in the vibrant community of Southwood, which includes many neighbors from Guatemala and Huehuetenango specifically. So these personal and local ties make the Sister City Initiative both meaningful and deeply relevant. As Edward mentioned, the Guatemala Alliance, which is formerly the Ixtatan Foundation, will serve as our local advocacy partner, and I'm honored to serve on their board. Together, we're envisioning programs that are locally guided and mutually beneficial, including cultural celebrations, educational exchanges, youth leadership, and community-driven economic development projects. We've identified over a dozen community partners with connections to Guatemala, including Building Goodness Foundation, Sin Barreras, the Church of the Incarnation, UVA's Latin American Studies Department, and Charlottesville City Schools, among others, who are ready to collaborate on exchange activities. And just last month, I had the privilege of joining Mayor Wade on a week-long delegation to Huehuetenango. We met local leaders, visited artisan markets, experienced music and dance, and saw firsthand the efforts that families are making to improve health and well-being in their communities. On one visit to a remote village, we met a family who had recently paved their dirt floors, and that was a milestone that they were deeply proud of. Watching Mayor Wade chat with the children and congratulate the family was a moment of genuine human connection that reflected exactly what a sister-city relationship can foster. And I will be wrapping up. Just wanted to say that Huehuetenango is one of the most ethnically and linguistically diverse departments in Guatemala. It's both like a state and a city by that name. It's home to some 9 distinct indigenous communities speaking their own languages. So a sister-city relationship can honor that richness and potentially support learning and exchange opportunities between indigenous communities both there and here, such as the Monacan Nation, if that is welcome and guided by the communities themselves. So in closing, by supporting this elevation to full sister city status, City Council will help strengthen the ties between our cities, supporting cultural exchange and nurturing relationships that are built on respect, collaboration, and lived experience. On behalf of the Sister Cities Commission, the Guatemala Alliance, and the residents of both of our cities who are ready to participate, I ask for your support in advancing Huehuetenango from a friendship city to a full sister city. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. In the package you have in front of you with a resolution, basically it is stated that we have the recommendation of the full Sister City Commission as well as admin staff here to make this change. We've spent 3 years working closely together with the commission and with the mayor, directly with the mayor of Huehuetenango, and we have identified several projects, which some are already in process. Included in the package also is a preliminary budget for the first 2 years, which lists activities that we've envisioned working with Wayway Tenango. We discussed most of these activities with Wayway. All of them will not happen. Some of them are also activities, general activities that we're doing with all our cities together. So we will include them in those. But that gives you an idea of some of the things that are going to be happening, not uniquely for Wayway, but for all our sister cities together. I do need to mention the fact that it's very important to understand we had some very serious conversations with the mayor from Wayway Tenango. What some of you may not know is the fact that during the Cold War era, there was a lot of activities that went on that were sponsored by the United States government, which undermined the governments of Latin America, in particular Guatemala, to the point where we helped replace democratically elected presidents. We helped support genocide to some extent, and we helped support the takeover of the lands for the indigenous people by the United Fruit Company. There was a period of almost 100 years of distrust. Unfortunately, it only ended most recently in 1996, which means the fact that it's still fresh in the memory of many people. So we went in and we did some conversations on friendship and reconciliation, where we talked about the fact that we understand the past. We understand the role that America played in the past. But at the same time, we wanted to reemphasize the purpose of the Sister Cities International, which is the relationships and diplomacy, person to person, citizen to citizen, city to city. And the fact that we accept it as an American, our responsibility, but at the same time, we promise to work with them respectfully and directly. And I think the relationship that we formed during this most recent trip, I wish all of you could have been there to see how warmly we were received. And the fact that the last thing you have, there are two things in your package also. There is an agreement that will be signed by our mayor and their mayor on our next meeting. It is a partnership agreement for it to become full sister cities. In addition to that, there is a memorandum of understanding which outlines some of the different activities, bylaws, and expectations of the relationship. So you have in front of you a recommendation and you have the full package, and we hope that you will consider elevating the city of Wayway Tenango from a friendship city to a full sister city. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, and I just wanted to chime in, because it's been about 1 month since we have returned, and that I concur with everything that Edward said. We're warmly received. I saw just countless opportunities for partnerships, collaboration between the two localities, whether it's students visiting, whether it's teachers going down to, partner with the Guatemala Alliance with the project-based learning. The city is has everything. We're in the urban part, but then a few hours still in the region, we're able to be in the most remote areas of the country, and visiting people who've just had their floors concreted. So you're able to get the whole gamut, and it was just really great for me to visit and to see and feel and taste for myself. And I've already had many friends already that I've established, and we've already been in touch several times since I have returned, and I'm looking forward to going back. So I strongly support this resolution.
Would you like to move it to the?
I moved, we adopt the.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, I'm sorry.
So a lot of this, I'm going to be supportive, but I just have a question, which is, because I was having before I was on council, how does the exact city get chosen? Who brings that up?
Well,
yeah.
I was actually on the commission back in 2018 when we first broached the idea and it was approved. So we were open to receiving requests from 5 different cities, ranging from Mexico to Argentina. What we were looking for, number one, was a city that had something unique to offer. We already have cities in Europe, so we were not looking for another European culture. We wanted a city that was a Spanish-speaking city, particularly to meet this criteria, but we wanted something that would bring in a unique culture to us. And so some of the cities that we had looked at, the culture was not that different. For instance, in Argentina, the city outside of Buenos Aires had a culture that was very, very European, much like being in Spain. But we already have a city in France, we have a city in Italy. So we didn't feel that Argentina would bring a unique perspective to us. We wanted a city that had some struggles similar to us. We've had issues, obviously, this is Virginia, this is Charlottesville, so we still struggle with racial equality, racism. Now, we were looking for a city that understood. Now, their racism in Guatemala is very different. There are 500 years of a blended people, but still there's racism. So they have different perspectives. We were looking for a place, a city where we can learn from them, where we can learn about how they have been coping with different issues. They're a poor city, very, very poor city. They are coping with trying to bring basic education to their population. And so we are finding the fact that we have a lot to learn. We are not a big brother. We are not someone who's going to go there and take them tons of money in a wheelbarrow. But what we are taking with them are perhaps some of our experiences. And at the same time, we're learning to look at things from a different perspective. Each of our sister cities brings a different picture to us. Ghana, Winneba, is a different story that has to do historically with the slave trade, but it's also a very modern city. France, we have ties to France that we've had for many, many years. Everyone in Virginia seems to have those, and we're very close with them. France is also very important because of the 20-year relationship between Charlottesville High School and the high schools in France. Italy, because of, goes back many, many years, 48 years, with the relationship in Italy, and some of the different inspirations for architecture in Charlottesville came from there. So each city has brought a unique flavor to our relationship. So that's what we were looking for, and that's what we found with Wewaytene-Angle.
Great, thank you.
I move that we adopt the resolution.
Second.
As we're voting, I want to thank my colleagues that went with me there, and Kristen, thank you for helping me at the airport there when we were in Guatemala City. I appreciate you helping a brother out there. It was in a tight spot, so thank you. Glad you can speak Spanish fluently. So, yes. I have it up here.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Motion passes. Thank you so much. Appreciate y'all. So we're now at the second time for community matters. Would anyone like to speak? Yes.
I watched others use this. Maybe I'll do better. Okay. Hi, Joe Lawson, 7.5 Street Southwest. I appreciate you commenting on the Fikeville action or inaction that we're asking for somewhat. It's more of a feedback. But I did want to emphasize one other thing that's come up a little bit that I didn't make a point, because most of this was about kind of traffic changes, sign changes. But the speeding that occurs in the neighborhood, the city did a survey, and they found that there were an average of 4,200 cars traversing the little northern section of Fikeville every day, which is remarkable. And then 5% of that were traveling in excess of 45 miles an hour, which I don't even know how you get that fast in there. But that's 210 cars every day going greater than 45 miles an hour through our very narrow old neighborhood. And one of the things that's come up several times, and I understand it can be sensitive, is kind of the traditionally marginalized neighborhood, and that police types of policing was disproportionately applied and has kind of just been removed altogether from the neighborhood. However, if the 5% of these cars are the ones that are speeding through, maybe it would be good for the city to work with police to see if some engagement in kind of identifying and dissuading people to speed through the neighborhood. I mean, like, I've gotten hassled by a cop for riding on a scooter more than I've seen people kind of getting a ticket going the wrong way, which happens all the time. If you change signs, people are still going to go the wrong way if they have impunity. So I just want to raise that point as well as something that we think would help with the speeding is not police chases, none of that, but I know that they could just see the car and they have the video of them going, that's enough, right, for the cops to have identified. They don't have to chase them down. Anyway, thank you all for this extended session.
Thank you. Anyone else like to? Joy?
Again, my name is Joy Johnson, and I am the chair of FAR. You only have one more month in this year for you to come see me. But anyway, I would like to just explain something about why I do what I do and why I have been coming in the last, and I'm coming in December also. It's simply because affordable housing to some people doesn't mean anything, because it leaves out a certain portion of people from 0 to 50%. And most of the housing that is being built and what developers are building, it doesn't meet the criteria for a certain group of people. So when I come here to voice my opinion, it's not because you're not building affordable housing. We have to look at the people who need deeply affordable housing because of how high rents are in the city of Charlottesville. And even though CRHA is doing redevelopment, we're losing a lot of public housing because the subsidy for a public housing unit doesn't fit the pro forma because project-based and HCV vouchers are 3 times more in the subsidy. So even though it looks like we're having more units, we do have some affordable housing, deeply affordable through CRHA because of the funding that is being raised to put on top of the tax credit and to put on top of the loans. HUD doesn't give CRHA not one dime to redevelop. Let me say that again. HUD doesn't give not one dime. What they give is replacement vouchers and relocation vouchers. And if you don't understand it too, let me try to do it in 56 seconds. Replacement vouchers mean we are turning our public housing into HCV units, project-based unit. A relocation voucher means you can take the voucher and go anywhere you want. If you choose to come back, that voucher go away. If they choose to stay, that voucher go away. We are losing units. So the reason why I come here is to beg. I usually read, but I want to tell y'all, I'm coming here to beg and say, there is a certain portion of residents and people and working people that you are missing who cannot afford to live in this city, who was born and raised here. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Thank you. Can I get a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Do we need to vote?
Oh, all in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, please say no.